Stage, we have Dane, unless writing girl, you wanna try it, Ellie? Okay, because remember this is pure writing. There's a lot of writing here. So, okay, no problem. All right, come to the deck right now. Please welcome Professor Dane Allred.
Oh, the thunderous applause. Thank you so much. Another happening night at Java Junkie. What are BYU students doing at Java Junkie? I've got a UVU student here around the corner and right back there, but the BYU students outnumber the UVU students. So I took off my UVU jacket, and now I'm wearing my BYU shirt. Tommy Bahama, $160 in the bookstore. It's ridiculous. You guys bought stuff in the bookstore? So do you two go to college? Where?
I go to BYU.
BYU and?
I went to Utah State.
Utah State is the best school in the state. I do have to say, that's where I met my wife. Yeah, he said he was here to meet somebody, and I didn't know it was her. Interesting. So here's the BYU UVU joke my daughter hates. What do BYU and UVU students have in common? Some of you know this joke.
They both go to college?
Nope. The UVU students are going to be mad about this, but my daughter was mad because she went to UVU, and this doesn't apply to her, but the thing that UVU students and BYU students have in common is they both applied to BYU. And that made my daughter angry because she didn't apply to BYU, and she was so angry she went to the University of Utah and graduated. So BYU students are a little bit OCD, obsessive compulsive disordered students. I teach at both places. If somebody's getting a C at BYU, they commit suicide. That's not a joke. Yeah, if somebody's getting a C for me at UVU, they're like, okay, C's get degrees. C's get diplomas. This is how bad BYU students are now. Guys, don't do this to your teacher, okay? I teach a class where there's like 1,400 points possible, and they hardly ever miss 60 to get an A minus. Getting an A minus is the worst grade you can give at BYU, right? Yeah? Am I right? You guys want to share your worst grade? I'll tell you my worst grades. I'll tell you mine if you tell me yours. I have 2 F's on my transcript from the University of Utah. One of them is crossed off and replaced by an F. 18th century British novel, failed it twice. So here's a BYU student comes to me and she's missing 6 points out of 1,400. She's one of these typical overachievers. Oh, and I needed to remind, we say OCD now, Oz, not anal, okay?
Not what?
Don't say anal anymore.
Oh, okay.
That means a different thing now. OCD, oh, she gets it. So OCD students, she comes to me and says, I'm missing 6 points, how can I make them up? She's still gonna get an A, right? So I play around with her a little bit, and I'm like, well, you're only missing 16 points. That's not gonna cost you the A. And she's like, no, I'm only missing 6. I said, well, now that you're missing 26 points, I said, you're kind of getting closer to an A minus, but she's like, 26? I'm like, well, now it's 36. And she says, I'm okay with 6. And she walked away and got an A. It's sad, I give mostly A's, and I do need to compliment the man in the room with the mustache. You are a brave, brave man. It's the only thing you can grow there, huh? How can I teach at BYU with all of this beard? I have a beard card. You would not believe what I had to go through to get it. It's ridiculous. I used to have a mustache just like yours. And this is my other favorite BYU story. In the 90s, some of my students came up to me. This is before you guys are born, right? Yeah, but you'll know what this is about. One of my students said, Brother Allred, why are you growing a porn stash? And I'm like, first of all, how do you know that phrase? Do you need to go visit with somebody and confess your sins? And it is no longer a mustache. I have grown goatees ever since. So I want to thank my BYU students for keeping up my fashion sense. And let's thank the gym man for not showing us off too much. I'm Dane Allred. Thanks so much for coming tonight. Hope you pass all your classes with at least 90s.
Keep it going for Dane. All right, everyone.
Woo!
Did you guys have a great time tonight?
You!
If no one else wants to get up, then that concludes our open